evening, parents and guests. My name is Bailey Watkins and I'm part of the Grade 3 staff here at Mount Footscray Primary. This presentation will be all about humanities and why we think it is a vital subject for your children. Our aim is to assist in the development of your children and give them the best opportunities to succeed. We hope that during the presentation of this subject, your children will develop the following skills: compassion, respect, empathy, and the ability to continually contribute to a constantly changing society. We have a big focus on the teaching your students about the different cultures and heritage that is vital for their development. The Australian curriculum for teaching humanities and social science looks at the following areas: history, geography, civics and citizenship, and economics and business. The humanities give students the ability to make sense of the complex world that we live in. We believe it is vital for students to have good understanding of reconciliation and the First Peoples. Without the study of history, your children would be seriously disadvantaged. History gives students and their families a sense of where they come from. I'll now hand you over to another member of staff who will explain to you why we include Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives.
Why include Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives in primary education? The reason we include Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives in primary education is because of the IELTS 1.4 and 2.4 standards. The IELTS standards say that it's important as future educators that we understand and respect Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to promote reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. The way in which we connect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives in primary education is the way teachers connect Aboriginal perspectives into a unit of work. A perfect example of this is by using comprehension pieces through an investigation into Aboriginal land management and stick fire farming. Students are then able to consider ways in which Aboriginals use fire in the past and present. Students will then proceed to research the procedures on how to do the following tasks. This will then enable children to begin to understand and widen their knowledge of why stick farming was used, and then children can act out the scenario on a later date. Therefore, as a teacher, you must be able to have a broad understanding and respect for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories, cultures and languages. Although it's important to be proficient in the way you teach students, support colleagues, and also the way you lead initiative so children can develop and understand respect for Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander histories, cultures, and languages. The only way you can do this is by knowing your students and knowing what you teach. Another aspect is projects of respect, reconciliation, and relationships connected to the Triple R prototype. Some strategies for these projects are reflecting on your own expectations, supporting classrooms, explore your teaching and how you can better cater for students' learning, and build positive relationships. Some important whole school significant dates that can embrace reconciliation in primary schools are Reconciliation Day, Invasion Day, and National Sorry Day. This will then be able to educate primary students around these significant dates and why they are important to know. This will then lead to progression in your own students' development.
My name is Margarita Del Cedro, and I will be in charge of the excursions for this unit. To enhance our students' learning, we will be embarking on multiple excursions. These excursions will give students the opportunity to interact with the world outside of the classroom. It allows students to connect with the land and community and to be able to experience for themselves how the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people lived. These excursions will take place at Budjilaka in the Melbourne Museum and the Royal Botanical Garden located in Cranbourne. As these are Year 3 students, there will be a focus on the diversity of people and places in their local community. Budjilaka will allow students to learn about the heritage of the area from the Kulin people, who were the first peoples in Victoria, how they lived off the land, how the area has developed into what it is today, and how the first peoples expressed themselves culturally through the exhibits on display. By looking at this perspective, students can start to inquire about Australia's past and use their prior knowledge to determine how it has shaped the land and community to what it is today. Students can use artefacts found here to undertake activities such as creating stories of the Kulin culture. The Royal Botanical Garden provides students the opportunity to immerse themselves in the Australian landscape. Students will come up close with an array of native fauna, flora, and rare and endangered species. They will also be exposed to the vegetation that once covered much of the area that we occupy today. Students will get to see the evolving connection between people, plants, and landscapes. It will also allow students to connect to the land as they put themselves in the place of the Indigenous people and gain further perspective. Here, we can undertake activities such as recognising the plants and animals eaten by the Indigenous people. These excursions incorporate 8 SIL standards 1.4 and 2.4. The location of both outings will provide teachers with rich resources that will allow them the opportunity for effective teaching. They will also provide the students an opportunity for real-life interactions so they can develop an understanding and respect of culture, history, and language of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people.
At Mount Footscray, we believe in diversity and understand children learn in different ways, and therefore we cater for everyone's needs. I'm Nick Brazel, and I'm involved in the integration of Aboriginal studies and humanities in our middle school. I believe in designing a suitable course for our middle school students that has a broad range of content, but also takes care of all curriculum content. By using Gardner's model, which is a theory based on the study that tells us children learn, remember, and perform in different ways, Gardner has suggested there are 7 different intelligences. They are visual spatial, which is children that are very spatially aware and like drawing, puzzles, and reading maps. These children learn through drawings, visual and verbal imagery, which is why we use smartboards, posters, drawings, and other things like that in our classes. The second intelligence is bodily kinesthetic, which are children who are active and very hands-on. These children learn through movement, making things, hands-on tasks, and to cater for this, we involve on-country visits, which will be talked about further. Also, we bring in objects for the children to touch and feel, but also students will be replicating these objects. The third intelligence is musical, which is very self-explanatory. The students will be shown dances and music relating to their lessons. The fourth intelligence is interpersonal. These students learn through interaction with others. Collaborative work will be very prominent in the humanities studies, but children will also be working by themselves, as the fifth intelligence is intrapersonal, which is the children who are very self-motivated and independent workers. The sixth intelligence is linguistic, which are students who learn through reading and writing. Books and worksheets are used in most lessons, which allow these students to develop their knowledge. The final intelligence is logical and mathematical. These children learn through investigation and logical games, which is why we have excursions and children will be asked to investigate many aspects of humanities and history. Obviously, all these intelligences can't be taught at the same time, but all will be catered for throughout the year, allowing the diversity of children to be accounted for and give each child an opportunity to develop. With access to digital spaces and computers in most classrooms, our children will be using technology a lot to research, do assignments, create and watch videos, which covers a lot of the intelligences. As part of the curriculum, it is that we take the children on excursions to Bunjalaka Museum in the city so that students can see and experience what they've been learning about in a hands-on physical environment. They will also visit other local monuments and places that are relevant to the work students are doing.
When assessing your children's work, we try to steer away from the traditional forms of testing. We like to assess the students in a practical way and do regular micro-teaching activities to see if your children are understanding what they're being taught. An example of this is instead of getting the students to write an essay or answer a number of questions, we would get the students into a small group and ask them to make a video or even something like a song and dance and represent what they have learned throughout the semester, the week, or the term. Again, making sure we are staying inside the lines of the Australian curriculum. We like to celebrate your children's work. We do this in a number of ways. Some of the more outstanding pieces of work may feature in the school newsletter or even be presented at a whole school assembly. In our classrooms, we display everyone's work. Some examples of how we do this are currently being displayed on the screen. We hang work up and make sure all the students in that class are being represented. This is highly beneficial for both the student, but also the parents and also guests who may be visiting the classroom. Students feel a sense of pride seeing their work displayed, and also the parents can see exactly what their child is capable of and what they have been getting up to. On behalf of the whole Grade 3 staff, I'd like to thank you for attending tonight and hope that we've answered some questions that you may have had. We look forward to seeing you and your child in the very near future.